Welcome to An Honorable Profession, a podcast giving America hope since 2018. I'm Ryan Coonerty. Along with Debbie Cox Bolton of the New Deal, I'm lucky enough to be your co-host. An Honorable Profession is a New Deal Leaders podcast. The New Deal is an organization that supports the next generation of American leaders. From attorneys generals to state senators to mayors to school board members, these are the people that are pushing policies and politics that will respond to climate change, rebuild our economy, address racial injustice, and restore our democracy. These are incredibly talented people who have dedicated themselves to public service when their country and their communities needed it the most. Check out NewDealLeaders.org to see what I'm talking about. Jazz Lewis not only has one of the coolest names in American politics, but is also one of its brightest stars. He started as a student and community activist, became a senior advisor to one of the most powerful people in Congress, and is now a delegate and a leader in the Maryland legislature. We talk about that journey and the lessons he learned along the way, especially as a young Black leader. We talk about his groundbreaking criminal justice reforms and his efforts to create economic opportunity. Listen to Delegate Jazz Lewis and hear the future of the Democratic Party. Enjoy. Maryland Delegate Jazz Lewis, welcome to An Honorable Profession.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here, Tim.
I am excited to be talking to you today because you're a very young man, but you've had a active career really pushing public policy from all angles. Can you talk a little bit about how you got engaged in public life, what drew you to it, and what you've been doing?
Sure. So I got involved with politics and policy as a student on the campus of University of Maryland. I originally went to college with the goal of majoring in architecture, and I got an organizing bug during the recession. I worked my way through school playing guitar at local churches and things like that. And during the recession, the state legislature had proposed increasing tuition, as many did across the country, which would have priced me out. So I kind of said, hell no, I won't go. And me and my friends organized about 1,000 students to go to the president of the school and then later on the legislature so they can find the money. And they did find the money. But that organizing bug, it stuck, And from there, I became a community organizer working in Baltimore, later in Philadelphia. I went back to school to really focus on a lot of the policies I learned in the streets of Baltimore and Philly, and got my master's of public policy back at University of Maryland. Go Terps to anyone who's listening. And then coming out of there, I joined the staff of Congressman Steny Hoyer, our U.S. Majority Leader, who has been a phenomenal mentor for me in my life, both personally as a husband and father, but also as an elected leader. I originally managed his campaign and then moved over to his staff where I advised him on issues of housing affordability, criminal justice reform, small business, racial wealth issues in totality. And in 2016, I was Hillary's political director for the state of Maryland while working for Steny. We did our job in Maryland. We won overwhelmingly, but unfortunately, obviously Trump came in. And while everybody was so, I think, in despair about where our country was going, that's when I first started thinking about, well, maybe it's time to get in the game. I listened to President Obama's speech and I was thinking, maybe elected office is something I should look at. And a position became available. Someone stepped down from a role. There needed to be an appointment. And the elders in the district in which I lived brought me for a meeting. I actually didn't think I was going to be selected at this meeting. I thought they brought me to the meeting to help advise whoever they was going to pick to get through the appointment process and then set up their campaign so that they can win. I was 27 at the time. I've been married for 6 months, and like a week before I put an offer on a house. So I went in that room thinking I was going to get put to work, not that I would lead. And as soon as I sat down, they told me they thought I was a consensus candidate. So it was a competitive appointment. The way it works isn't just someone selects you and you're done. You go before what we call a Democratic Center Committee, and anyone can put their name up. And many people did. But we were victorious, and I filled out the remainder of his term. I was subsequently elected in 2018 to a 4-year term, and I was just reelected. And over that time, I worked on a number of things. I am currently the Democratic Caucus Chair in the Maryland House of Delegates. It's the 4th ranking position. am the youngest to ever had the role.
Congratulations. That is a fast path through different levels of public service. I'm wondering, sitting in your chair today, a young Jazz Lewis out there who's frustrated about something, worried about tuition or other things, having now been through this process in a bunch of different ways, what advice do you have to young activists who want to shape policy?
So the first thing I would say is seek out mentors who are ahead of you, whether in years of life or just experience. It could really help propel you in a fast way. It definitely did in my life, whether that was getting connected to Congressman Steny Hoyer or some of the local elders in my community. That was the first part. The second part is you don't have to have it all figured out. So one of the things that had really stressed me out earlier on was that coming from a family, my mother's a retired DEA agent. My father's an electrician. My mom went to college. My dad didn't. We very much were economically mobile, right? My parents both grew up in fairly deep poverty, and me and my siblings were able to benefit from their labors, but we spent a lot of our time and effort helping family. I share that because I had no clue what I was going to do with my life other than go to college, which was the goal. And that's okay. Give yourself some grace. You don't have to have, I know it's overwhelming where people ask you, where are you going to be 5 years, 10, 15 years from now? You don't have to have that answer, really. You can have a lofty goal, but just give yourself some grace and just start doing. So when I started as a student activist, I didn't think I'd end up as an elected official. I didn't even think I'd end up in politics. All I thought was that I didn't want to get priced out of my education. And then when I became a community organizer, I thought I just want to help these people out. That led to me going to grad school, and leaving from grad school is I wanted to be in a place where I could continue to learn and grow so I can make real change for people. And that's how I got the job with Steny Hoyer. But even that, I still hadn't thought about running for office. So give yourself some grace, find some mentors, and it'll all work out.
As you say that, I think that's really good advice. I teach college students, and I'm like, if you think you have it all figured out at 20,